The late morning sun painted the playground in warm gold, yet Olivia Mercer sat on a weathered bench, feeling the cold weight of defeat. Her 7-year-old daughter, Emily, swayed gently on a swing, small fingers wrapped around rusted chains, lips pressed into the silence that had lasted 3 years. No doctor, no therapist, no program had been able to reach her. Olivia had stopped expecting miracles, but then she noticed him, a man she had never seen before, kneeling in front of Emily, his voice low enough that it barely reached Olivia's ears. His son lingered behind him, watching. Emily looked at the man's hand, resting patiently between them. And then, in the smallest voice Olivia had heard in years, Emily whispered a single word. "Welcome to today's story, a journey filled with emotions, unexpected turns, and lessons worth keeping. If you enjoy stories that touch the heart and make you think, please subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let us begin." Olivia Mercer had built a life that looked perfect from the outside. At 38, she was the CEO of a thriving healthcare tech company in Austin, Texas. Her tailored suits and sharp decisions had earned her respect in boardrooms across the country. But no amount of power or polish could change the truth she carried every day. Her daughter had not spoken a word in 3 years. The silence began after the accident. Olivia did not talk about it often, not even to herself. It was easier to focus on the present, or at least pretend to. She filled her days with meetings and deadlines, but every evening she came home to the same quiet. Emily's voice had been locked away somewhere Olivia could not reach. On that Saturday morning, Olivia decided to take Emily to the local playground. She told herself it was just another routine outing, but inside, she was hoping for something she could not name. The air was warm, carrying the smell of fresh-cut grass. Children's laughter floated through the park, bright and sharp against the background hum of traffic. Emily sat on the swing, legs dangling, pushing herself back and forth in slow, uneven motions. She watched the other children with wide, distant eyes, as though they lived in a world she could not enter. Her small hands barely tightened on the chains when a burst of laughter rang from the slide. Olivia sat on a nearby bench, her phone resting in her hand. She scrolled through nothing in particular, pretending she was not scanning the playground for stares. She had grown used to the quick glances, the way strangers' eyes slid away when they noticed Emily's blank expression. Then Olivia saw him. He was in his mid-30s, wearing a faded navy hoodie and jeans worn thin at the knees. His hair was tousled, his face marked by the kind of lines that came from living rather than age. He was pushing a boy, maybe Emily's age, on the tire swing. The boy's laughter was wild and free, a sound that made Olivia's chest ache with memory. When the swing slowed, the man caught Olivia watching. Instead of looking away, he offered a nod. There was no pity in his eyes, just acknowledgement, like he saw her, not the story people made up in their heads. Most strangers kept their distance, but he did not. He walked over, his son trailing behind him, still flushed from play. He crouched in front of Emily, his voice gentle. "Mind if we say hello?" Emily did not move. Olivia opened her mouth to explain, to save him from the awkward silence, but something about his stillness made her pause. He did not rush, did not fill the space with words. He simply extended his hand, palm up, letting the moment breathe. Emily stared at it for a long moment. Then, to Olivia's surprise, she lifted her small hand and set it in his. His smile deepened. He glanced briefly at Olivia, a silent request for permission to continue. She nodded, unsure why she trusted him. He spoke softly. "My son told me the slide here is only for the bravest kids. I told him I have met braver." His voice dropped, almost like he was letting Emily in on a secret. "Want to know how I can tell?" Emily's lips parted just slightly. Curiosity hook. What happened next was something Olivia never imagined hearing again. He tapped her chin lightly with his finger and waited. The pause stretched, holding both Olivia's breath and her hope. Then Emily whispered, "How?" Olivia's heart slammed against her ribs. It had been 3 years since she heard her daughter speak. The man's smile was slow, certain. Brave kids do not need to be the loudest. They just speak when it matters. Emily blinked at him, weighing the words like they were a puzzle. Her fingers tightened around the swing chains. She spoke again, barely louder than before. "What is your name?" The man chuckled softly. "I am Jack. This is my son, Mason." Mason gave a shy wave. Emily looked at him, then back to Jack. "I am Emily." Olivia's throat tightened. She could not remember the last time she heard her daughter introduce herself. Jack nodded. "Nice to meet you, Emily. Now, want to know a secret about this playground?" Emily gave the smallest nod. Jack leaned closer. "The best slide is not the big one. It is the little one behind the sandbox. The sun warms it up so it goes faster." Emily's brows lifted. Olivia realized she had not seen that look, pure, unguarded interest, in years. "Want to try it?" Jack asked. Emily hesitated, glancing at her mother. Olivia forced her voice to steady. "Go ahead, sweetie." Jack did not take her hand or guide her like something fragile. He simply walked beside her as Mason ran ahead. Emily followed, her steps cautious but deliberate. Olivia stayed on the bench, her hands trembling. It was not just that Emily had spoken. It was that this man, a stranger, had reached her without effort, without pity. Minutes later, the sound of faint laughter drifted back from behind the sandbox. When they returned, Emily was smiling. Jack lingered by the swing. "She has a lot to say," he told Olivia quietly. "She just needs someone to ask the right way." Olivia found her voice. "How did you do that?" He shrugged lightly, but his eyes held something unspoken. "Sometimes kindness is the only language people understand." Olivia could not shake the moment from her mind. 3 years of silence had broken in the space of a few breaths, in the middle of a playground, to a man she had never met. She was not about to let him walk away without knowing more. Jack was turning to leave, Mason's hand in his, when Olivia's voice called after him. "Jack, wait." He paused, glancing back. The breeze tugged at his hoodie. There was a flicker of hesitation in his eyes, like he was weighing whether to stay. Olivia's heart pounded. She did not want to scare him off. Would you maybe have coffee with us?" "My treat." Her voice cracked. I have not heard her speak in 3 years. Jack's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. He looked down at Mason, then back at her. "We do not usually do coffee shops, but there is a little diner on Oak Street. It is quiet." Olivia nodded quickly. "Perfect. I will follow you." Emily's eyes lit up in a way Olivia had not seen in years. "Can Mason ride in our car?" Jack smiled at her, that grounding, gentle smile. "Maybe another time, kiddo. Today, we will ride together." They met again 15 minutes later at the diner, a retro place with red booths and the scent of fresh pie drifting through the air. Mason slid into the booth across from Emily. For a moment, Olivia just stared. Emily was leaning forward, whispering something to him, her lips moving with a confidence that felt unreal. Jack ordered a black coffee, nothing else. Olivia noticed the scars along his hands, the faint limp when he shifted in his seat. His movements were careful, deliberate. She could not help herself. "How did you know what to say to her?" Jack's gaze dropped to his coffee. My sister stopped talking when we were kids. After our father left, everyone thought she was broken. She was not. She just did not trust people anymore. Olivia swallowed. And you got her to talk? Jack's lips curved faintly. I did not get her to do anything. I just listened until she wanted to answer. Kids know who is safe. Emily laughed then, a soft, surprised sound. Mason was holding a fork with whipped cream on the tip, pretending it was a mustache. Her laughter made Olivia's chest ache. The waitress came by with refills, and Jack shifted his arm. His sleeve slid back, revealing a thin, faded hospital band around his wrist. It was frayed, the print almost worn away. Olivia frowned. Were you recently in the hospital? Jack slid his sleeve down again. Something like that? Curiosity hook. Olivia did not realize that what he was hiding would change both of their lives. She waited until Mason and Emily were distracted by the chocolate pie the waitress set between them. Jack, you do not owe me anything, but I feel like it matters, especially if you can reach Emily like that. Jack stared into his coffee as if it might offer an escape. Finally, he spoke quietly. I got out of the hospital a month ago. VA rehab. He hesitated, then added, I was a paramedic in the Army, 2 tours in Afghanistan. On my last run, we hit an IED. My leg took the brunt. My best friend did not make it. Olivia's throat tightened. I am sorry. Jack's jaw flexed. After that, I could not stand the noise. Crowds, sirens, even television. Mason and I moved to the edge of town. I started volunteering at parks, helping kids feel safe again. I guess it is selfish. It helps me too. Olivia glanced at Emily, who was now feeding Mason a bite of pie. That is not selfish. That is extraordinary. Jack looked at her then, and for a second, his eyes were unguarded. Most people do not think so. My resume is just blank years and medical notes. Nobody wants to hire the guy with a limp. Olivia hesitated. She was not just a mother. She was the CEO of a healthcare tech firm that developed communication devices for people with speech impairments. But she had never mixed her personal life with her work, especially when it came to Emily. Still, she heard herself say, maybe they are not the right people. Jack gave a faint smile, almost dismissive. You do not owe me anything. You have your own life, your own world. He nodded toward Emily. And from the looks of it, a daughter who is about to talk your ear off. Emily tugged on Olivia's sleeve then. Can Mason come to the park with us tomorrow? Olivia blinked, stunned by how casual her daughter's words sounded now. Jack chuckled. We will see, kiddo. But Olivia's mind was already working. Something told her that if she let this man walk away, she would regret it for the rest of her life. The next morning, Olivia woke to a sound she had not heard in years. Emily humming in her room. Not a song, just a soft, content little tune. It hit her so hard she sat on the edge of her bed, steadying her breath. By mid-morning, they were back at the playground. Jack and Mason were already there, tossing a worn football back and forth. Emily did not hesitate. She ran toward them, calling out, Mason, throw it to me. The words carried across the playground like sunlight breaking through clouds. Olivia stood by the fence, watching her daughter's joy unfold. The day before, she had been locked in silence. Now, she was shouting across the field. Jack walked over, leaning against the fence. You have no idea what this means to me, Olivia said. Jack shook his head. I think I do. I have seen what it looks like when the light comes back in someone's eyes. They stood quietly, the sounds of the children's laughter wrapping around them like warmth. The autumn sun had shifted, casting longer shadows across the playground. Olivia stood beside Jack, her mind moving faster than her feet. She could feel an idea pressing against her, demanding to be voiced. Jack leaned against the fence, his gaze fixed on the children. Mason had just taught Emily how to throw the football in a tight spiral. She laughed when it sailed a little crooked, chasing after it with a determination Olivia had not seen in years. Olivia took a breath. Jack, I run a company that designs communication devices for people with speech impairments. But lately, I have realized that technology cannot replace what you have. Jack's brow furrowed, uncertain where she was going. You have a way of reaching people that cannot be taught, she said. We need someone like you, someone who understands the human side. Jack straightened, almost defensive. You want to hire me? Not as a favor, as someone who can train our team in ways we cannot learn from a manual? Jack's eyes narrowed slightly. You would put your name on someone like me? Olivia's answer came without hesitation. I would put my company on someone like you. For a moment, Jack said nothing. His gaze returned to the kids, as if weighing something only he could see. Curiosity hook. What he said next would tell Olivia whether this moment was the start of something or the end. Jack exhaled slowly. I am not sure I belong in that kind of world anymore. Offices, meetings. I left that behind for a reason. It would not be like that, Olivia said. This would be about people, not paperwork. Jack gave a faint smile, but his eyes carried an old, tired weight. Olivia wondered how many doors had been closed on him since his injury. They watched the kids for another minute before Mason jogged over, football tucked under his arm. Dad, did you see that throw? Jack smiled for his son, ruffling his hair. Yeah, kiddo, I saw. Emily ran up beside Mason, cheeks flushed, hair escaping its ponytail. Can we do it again tomorrow? We will see, Jack said, glancing at Olivia. Her mind raced. She could feel him pulling back, like someone used to leaving before attachments could form. She knew that rhythm well. It was the same one she had used to keep people from getting too close after the accident. When the game wound down, they walked toward the parking lot. The crisp air carried the smell of fallen leaves. Olivia decided she could not let the day end without trying again. She waited until the kids were strapping into their seats. Jack, you told me you volunteer because it helps you too. You have already changed Emily's life in 24 hours. You could do that for so many others. Jack closed the car door and rested his hand on the roof, thinking. You know, when I was in the service, we were trained to assess a situation fast, figure out if we could help or if it was already lost. Most of the time, it was not a clean answer. This is not a lost cause, Olivia said firmly. You are not. His eyes met hers then, steady but guarded. I will think about it. It was more than she expected. She nodded. That is all I ask. The next day, she heard Emily before she even reached the kitchen. The little girl was humming again, setting out 2 bowls for breakfast. Olivia stood in the doorway, memorizing the scene like a photograph she never wanted to lose. Later that week, she saw Jack again at the playground. He was sitting on the bench this time, watching Mason and Emily take turns on the slide he had told her about. She sat down beside him, the air between them quieter than the noise of the park. Did you think about it? Jack's jaw shifted. I did. But every time I picture walking into your company, I see all the ways it could go wrong. Like what? Like someone deciding I am just a charity hire, or me freezing up when a room gets too loud. Olivia studied him. And what if it went right? What if you changed how my entire team approaches people like Emily? Jack let out a breath that was almost a laugh. You make it sound simple, It is not simple, but it is worth it. Mason's voice called across the playground. Dad, watch this. Jack looked over, and Olivia saw the exact moment his expression softened. He turned back to her. You are sure about this? I have never been more sure. Jack stared at the ground for a moment, then nodded. All right, but only if you let me buy the first round of coffee when I get my first paycheck. Olivia smiled, feeling something loosen in her chest. Deal. As they stood to call the kids over, Olivia realized this was not just about Emily anymore. This was about the kind of people she wanted in her life, and in her daughters. 2 weeks later, Jack walked into Olivia's company for the first time. It was early morning, the lobby still quiet, the scent of fresh coffee drifting from the break room. He wore a simple button-down shirt and dark slacks, moving with the careful gait that came from his injury. His eyes scanned the space, alert but not overwhelmed. Olivia met him by the elevator, offering a small smile. You came? You asked, he said, as if that was reason enough. She led him to a conference room where a small group waited, her lead engineers, a few therapists, and a couple of interns. On the table were notebooks, a pitcher of water, and a stack of blank folders. Jack hesitated at the doorway. Olivia could see it, the weight of a room full of strangers, the risk of being misunderstood. She spoke first. Everyone, this is Jack Bennett. He is here because he understands something we cannot learn from a textbook. Jack gave a brief nod. I do not have the right words for what I do. I just try to be what I needed when I was a kid, and what my son needs now. The room was silent for a moment. Then one of the therapists asked how he starts with a child who will not talk. I start by listening, Jack said, even if it takes days. I let them know I am not going anywhere. Curiosity hook. The example he gave next would stay with Olivia for years. He told them about Emily's first whispered word, about how it came after stillness and space rather than pressure. He described the way her eyes had shifted when she realized he would not push her. One by one, the people in the room began to take notes. By the end of the session, Jack was leaning on the table, answering questions as if he had been doing it for years. Olivia watched from the back, her chest warm with quiet pride. When the day ended, Jack walked out into the crisp air with her. Mason was waiting in the car with Emily, the two of them sharing a bag of pretzels and laughing over something she could not hear. Jack glanced at them, then back at her. You were right. It is worth it. The following weekend, they met at the playground again. This time, Emily did not need an invitation. She ran straight to Mason, calling his name loud enough for half the park to hear. Olivia sat on the bench beside Jack, the smell of grilled hot dogs drifting over from a food cart. I keep thinking about that first day, she said, how fast it all changed. Jack shook his head. It was not fast. It took her years to get to that moment. She just needed the right opening. They watched the kids chase each other in the fading light. Emily's laughter carried on the wind, and Olivia felt the sound settle somewhere deep inside her. There was a pause, the comfortable kind. Then Jack said, You know, I thought I was helping her, but maybe she is helping me. Olivia looked at him. How? He smiled faintly. I forgot what it felt like to believe things could get better. She reminded me. The sun dipped lower, streaking the sky in gold and rose. Mason called to his father, and Emily waved for her mother to join them. Olivia and Jack walked over together, the grass cool under their feet. For the next hour, they played catch, cheered from the swings, and took turns timing the kids down the slide. It was simple, and it was enough. When it was time to leave, Emily slipped her hand into Jack's without hesitation. Olivia noticed, but did not stop her. Back at the cars, Mason climbed into his seat, still chattering about the game they had made up. Emily buckled in, humming again, that same soft tune Olivia had heard in the mornings. Jack closed his door and looked across the roofs of their cars. "See you Monday?" Olivia smiled. "See you Monday." The drive home was quiet, but not empty. Emily was tired in the best way, the way that came from running, laughing, and speaking without fear. That night, after Emily had gone to bed, Olivia stood in the hallway for a long moment, listening to the small sounds of her daughter breathing. The house no longer felt like it was holding its breath. She thought about Jack, the way he carried both strength and pain without letting either define him. She thought about the lesson he had given her without meaning to. Sometimes, the most important breakthroughs happen when you stop forcing them. Wisdom. In a world obsessed with fixing things quickly, Jack had shown her that real change often comes from slowing down, from letting people arrive at their own pace. Whether it was a child finding her voice or a man finding his place again, the process could not be rushed. Olivia knew there would be challenges ahead, days when Emily might retreat or Jack might feel the weight of his past. But she also knew they had crossed a line together, one that could not be uncrossed. She turned off the hall light, feeling a quiet certainty settle over her. Thank you for listening. If this story touched you, please share it and leave your thoughts in the comments below.